Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and today we're back with another team composition video, and we have the brand new character coming out, Robin. Now, in case any of you who have not even watched the live stream or you have no idea what Robin does, I'll give you a very quick TLDR summary. Robin is a character who has basically like two things that are very unique. One is her ultimate pushes the entire team up, which is like 100% team-wide action advance. That's really strong. On top of that, also when she uses her ultimate, she basically does damage whenever your team is doing an instance of damage as well. So she works very well. You will hear and see a lot on all over the place, or people saying follow up team composition, follow up team composition. That's because the more that your teammates attack, the more energy she gets, the more damage that she deals as well. That is basically like in a nutshell. Of course, there's a bit of other nuances of her buffing capabilities and stuff like that, but you don't need that nitty-gritty in order to understand what team comps that she fills in. So now that we've talked about the big overview for any of you who haven't seen her kit, I just want to tell you first before we jump into the video that there are basically two types of follow-up attacks. Now, broadly speaking, most people will just classify follow-up attacks as one big category, like Dr. Ratio, Topaz, and Nambi, which is the first team we're going to talk about, but there's actually a second type of follow-up attacking team compositions, which I want to talk about in a little bit. But first, let's go in with the one that everyone talks about, and let me explain why this team is so good. Of course, you can see the money bags here on the first row. This is of course the more expensive one, so I want to put the money bags. Not all of us have unlimited budget. Maybe we have to allocate our resources. We didn't pull the ideal characters. I also want to give you some alternatives in case that you don't have unlimited budget as well and you want to get into the follow-up attacking teams. So first things first, let's explain first the theoretical, very nice synergy team that we have here. Dr. Ratio is free up till I guess 2.2, 2.3 when he is no longer to be free. So, but for most of us watching this video and playing right now as of time of recording, he's technically free, so I didn't put the money bags beside him as well. He's very strong. He plays into follow-up attacking, Topaz buffs follow-up attack, and eventually himself does a lot of follow-up attack. This is actually a 4 DPS team because Robin also deals damage. You have Aventrine that deals damage. Why did she works very well? Robin is on top of the fact that she buffs follow-up attacking. I think she gives like crit damage to the rest of the team. She gets energy whenever your teammates attack enemies, and also she deals damage outside of a turn order, and all of basically these characters don't mind the action advance that she provides, and of course the damage bonuses that she provides, and etc. So this is probably going to be like the most popular team that a lot of people are going to talk about, and I think it's going to really define the meta for follow-up teams moving forward until we have a different team composition coming and so on. This is like the first main type where speed actually benefits a lot of them. They utilize entirety of Robin's kit. Now let me just give you, since we talked about like a more expensive comp, let's talk about something more affordable. Kind of ish, I guess. That will probably be more of a Clara focused follow-up teams, but I don't really want to elaborate too much about Clara focused teams in this slide. I will put it on to a later slide, but let's first talk about two alternatives if you want to run a Dr. Ratio and Robin kind of team. And if you, as you can see here, I put this fat wallet here not because we are free to play because we can't afford it, but because we are saving our money. So there are a few options that you can play in the pivot slot if you don't have Topaz and Nambi. I think a few 4-star alternatives is like Herta, who has follow-up in her overall kit, quite a lot of it as well. You have Sherry, who also has a bit of follow-up, a bit of break, so you play a bit into both of them. And of course, a standard 5-star character like Clara could be used in place of a character like Topaz and Nambi. But if you're playing Clara here, you likely might not find too much value with Aventrine, which is why this second section here will be interesting, and that is probably a March 7 who is on Robin's banner as well, and she's a free character. If you're playing Clara, you can consider March 7 who does a lot of follow-up attacks. She does good amounts of breaking as well, ice application, freezing, so you get some sort of control on the enemies that is really nice too. They combo really well, and you get a follow-up from all your characters. If you are really interested in a cheaper alternative of follow-up teams, and your wallet will start to look like this if you are saving enough of your resources and not pulling every limited character. But now, instead of just talking about this one, which is like the most popular one, I wanted to get that out of the way first, let's go into the second type of follow-up teams. As we talked about at the very start of the video, there are two main types. Follow-up attacking teams are not only acting, basically the concept of follow-up attacking teams is attacking outside of your turn order. There are actually 2 to 3 main types, and the first one of course is we talked about previously, where they have specifics in their kit where they are attacking outside of their turn order, but there are also follow-up attacking comps where you are countering enemies. What's the difference between the two? One requires your enemies to move, the other doesn't. In the first video, or the first team where we saw Dr. Ratio, Topaz and Nambi, speed is beneficial for that team. You care a lot about speed, and if you freeze the enemy, you control the enemy, it doesn't really detriment that kind of comms. Counter comms are the other type of follow-up teams, which is very determined on how fast the enemy moves, whether the enemy is attacking you a lot, because you gain strength whenever the enemy is hitting you. That is something that is very important to know. You can counter teams by enemies moving very slowly. And if you crowd control them, your counter teams are like more or less useless because you don't pop off as hard, basically. So who will perform well in counter teams in a sense? These of course obviously benefit Robin because they all count as like additional attacks. First of all, Blade, expensive character, but he is also a counter. I would like to call this like a bruiser comm. If any of you play like other games, you will know that a very tanky comm that relies on just counter-attacking, surviving counter-attacking is actually quite meta, especially against very fast moving comms that can one-shot your entire team. If we do have like PvP, which I don't think is likely, or maybe the Hoyoverse releases fast-moving units, this comm will likely be much more relevant in the game, which is something they could expand into eventually, especially if they want to add in like a lifesteal set and stuff like that, which will be pretty fun. So top row, very expensive, but it's the ideal counter comm that we currently have in the game. More characters added in, we will see and switch out accordingly as well. Let me give some cheaper alternatives as well. I think units, for example, like you have Lynx, you have Mark 7, pairs very nicely with Clara. Both of them draw the aggro or put the shield on her, which basically helps the counter, keeping up the counters as well. And of course, if you don't have Blade, you can just run like a Hyper Cleric Clara. Right now, this team composition is pivotal and revolving around a character like Clara, until more counter characters come about as well. So that is two ways that follow-up attacking teams benefit. Now let's talk about another one which is also follow-up attacking, and now we are shifting away from that two directions of going, and we're just going very generic follow-up attacking comps. Instead of the single target, which we saw in the first team composition, this is really focused on pure fiction, to clear as many units as you can as well. And that is of course, the core team is really Himiko and Herta, and you really follow up with a character like Robin, which adds a lot of damage on the side. You can play a more offensive Runmei, you can play a Mark 7 if you want a bit more sustain, but the reason why you can even run, for example, a double harmony, double offense, double support into a double offensive unit is because pure fiction doesn't require to have all four characters alive. Even if one unfortunately dies, you still have the rest of your team composition that's able to clear with the max rewards, because you just need the score. You don't need every character alive. So this is also a very, very strong team. I think will form the basis of a lot of people's teams if you are trying to just push into the pure fiction game mode as well. Now let's go on to the next one here. And this is the speedster category. In the beginning, we talked all about follow-up attacks, but that's not the only thing about Robin that a lot of people are actually missing out on this section. There are multiple ways to actually do more instances of damage. First, we talked about follow-up attacks. Second is countering, which is also a type of follow-up attack. And the third way, which I kind of teased a little bit in the second team comm, is actually using your burst or anything that allows you to move again after using your ultimate ability, which is what I like to call like team push cycling. Especially when you have Robin who is able to team-wide push. If you can cycle that in to even give your team more turns, I think it'll be really strong. Let me just show you some examples of what I mean. A lot of characters on screen. Let's go like one section by one section. First of all, what am I looking for? I'm looking for characters that want to move fast and want to take turns. So characters like Zila, kill units that attack again. Characters like Susang, when they use their ult, they get automatic self-push. These characters do a lot of damage instances, which are pseudo follow-up attackers in a sense, because they act multiple times per turn and can act very, very often, especially if they have some sort of support, buffer, and push. If there are a lot of squishies, Zila and Susang are kind of very good in these kind of like speedster units. They also have a lot of self-speed buffing, which pairs very nicely because Robin at E0 only gives push. She doesn't give speed buffing until, of course, with Eidolon 2 and stuff like that. So, in the pivot section here is a very, very wide cast of characters, but basically what I'm trying to show you here is some characters are moving fast, Robin pushes them up, it benefits them, they attack very fast, Robin gets more instances of damage. Over here you can follow the top road, which is going on a follow-up attacking kind of style, which plays into the multiple attacks per instance of time. Or you could run a character like Huo or Tingyun, who is battering and funneling it back into either Robin herself. If you, for example, lack the enough sustain, Huo can just buff the whole team with energy. So you have whole team push, whole team energy from Huo, or maybe a target, for example, like Tingyun, single target battery, either battering your DPS here in the synergy slot or perhaps battering Robin. This is another example that you can go in, and your utility slot, of course, is very, very interesting because you can play Harmony character with Dance like Cone to cycle even more pushes into your overall team, allowing your team to play as not only a hyper carry but also as a hyper carry plus a damage dealer in Robin as well. So this is something that is very interesting. A team that moves super fast. I think that is something that needs the community to explore a little bit more, and it's very, very underrated. Right now everyone is just fixated on follow-up teams, but something that is super strong is her team-wide 100% action advance. I think that's very, very underrated in my opinion. So we teased it a little bit. We talked about harmonies in multiple of the team compositions. You can pair Ronmei, you can pair Dance like Cone users as well. Now I want to talk specifically about a dual harmony team and why I think this is also going to be super strong. I have no idea why these harmony characters here, why is there a harmony logo and why is Fire MC so large. It might be some kind of mistake on my part by not putting the images properly, but I'll just leave it as it is. So in this section here, what we are looking for is really turning Robin into a somewhat of a pseudo DPS and at the same time buffing your entire team. Of course, ideally Ronmei works the best for this situation because both Ronmei as well as Robin does team-wide buffing. Ronmei buffs a lot of damage, she does good damage on her side, and of course she buffs a lot of break effect efficiency. Robin on the other hand pushes everyone up, deals good amounts of damage on the side, and yet buffs everyone. So a combo of Ronmei and Robin is extremely deadly. Already you have a pseudo DPS in Robin in that case, but even if you do not have Ronmei, it's quite expensive to run. You can even go with other harmony characters that you can add to the roster, and these will also be very, very strong. So basically in your pivot section you can put almost any DPS in the game that basically plays into break or follow-up attacks. A cheap alternative here is Susang, who gets a lot of value for breaking enemies. She gets skill point refunds and stuff like that. Follow-up attacking in characters like Xue Yi does good amount of break. So as long as your character plays into both break and follow-up, they likely will find a lot of value, or if they attack very, very often. A character that I think could be quite interesting for the break effect side of things might be Boothill. Of course, a bit more expensive, and it's going to be on the second half, so not everyone gets that luxury. I'll explore more of Boothill's team compositions as time draws nearer as well. And utility section here, you can really fit anyone. It's depending on the rest of your team before you find what character you want to place here. So I won't really elaborate much on that aspect as well. So that is for the dual harmony team. And if you're finding value in this video so far, before we go into our next team comp, do like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments below, do you appreciate this? What are you planning to play Robin in? What is the team compositions that you are likely going to be playing? And what are your troubles that you're facing on your account as well? And of course, we always have something for everyone, and in this section here, I want to give it something for really the free-to-play players. Since we are approaching a time where Doctor Ratio will no longer be officially free, since it's no longer given out anymore, I'm going to put here a very, very small Doctor Ratio, and I think the best free-to-play teams right now for a character like Robin will likely be Herta. She's free, you can get her very, very high Eidolons also without even doing a single pull. Very, very strong, good for follow-ups, builds very well in the pure fiction game mode also. And the pivot, I think building a character like Physical MC, Fire MC could scale very nicely since levels carry over regardless of what form they are in. And probably you will be able to survive if you are planning to run a March 7 with a double sustain in Fire MC, March 7, so you get a bit of follow-up attack, a bit of taunting, a bit of bruiser-like style in Fire MC, who can be acting as a fire break damage dealer as well, can eventually transition to whatever types that may come. Otherwise, you can go with Serval, who has a very low energy burst cost. She bursts very, very often. She does a lot of attacks for a character that does not have self-push, does not have self-speed up. So more attacks means more benefit for Robin. I think that Serval is also very, very strong. And of course, last but not least, you have Lynx, who is a free character, just sustaining throughout the board if you want to run a more offensive character like Serval. And of course, the question that remains, which is not the point of this video, is EOD, what's the difference between Ronmei and Robin, and who performs better and who is actually the better pick? Because we don't know when Ronmei is coming about, but we want to know the comparison between both of them. And if you're interested in that content, check out our video right here in this end screen. I might put it out later tomorrow if you're watching this as of time of recording, or if you're watching this sometime in future, it's probably on the channel already. And thank you guys so much for your attention. Again, see you in next week's video.